Hi everyone, welcome to the third article in our series on book marketing. In this article we're going to discuss two key building blocks that every online platform should have. Now at first this may sound pretty obvious, the two platforms are Twitter and Facebook. However, we're going to get into a key tool that you need for your platform, as well as some tips and tricks on how to get your audience more invested in your book success. Now, we have quite a bit of material to go through, so I'm going to be speaking a little bit more quickly than in the prior articles, uh, hopefully. Okay, so in the last article, we identified our target audiences, and we did this through the use of a spidergram. If you aren't familiar with that, I suggest that you go back and look at our last article. We also touched upon a basic online strategy called a link wheel, which you can use to engage your audience wherever they may surf. However, at the end of our discussion, you might have come to the conclusion that a link wheel could take quite a bit of time to set up. So we suggest that before you jump into your link wheel, first thing you need to do is reserve your domain names. Okay, so first you've used your spidergram to map out your audiences, and then you should figure out which domains you want for each of the websites in your link wheel. Once you get the domains, next thing you should do is create a Facebook and a Twitter account for each of those domains. Not only are these easier to get set up and running than your websites, but they'll also give you a platform through which you can announce your websites. So each of these messages along the way, as we discuss your platform, will be one more reason to engage your audience and keep you as well as your book in the front of their minds. So let's jump into Twitter. Now when it comes to Twitter, I think it's important to follow the lead of an author who's actually successfully driven his or her book to the top position on Amazon. And one such author is Ollie Hill. Ollie is the author of a book called Creating the Perfect Lifestyle. Now Ollie says that he had spent 2 hours a day every day for an entire year leading up to his book's launch, working his Twitter account. And by the time he was ready to launch, he had amassed roughly 20,000 followers and created incredible anticipation surrounding his book. Now, according to Ollie, this was one of the key factors in propelling his book to the #1 position on Amazon. Now, after thinking about it and stepping back and doing a little research, our suggestion is rather than spending 2 hours a day banging out tweets, you'd be better off investing in a Twitter automation program, something such as TweetAdder. So with this handy tool in the background managing your Twitter accounts, you can now spend 2 hours a day on some other part of your marketing platform. And the way that I like to rationalize this is as follows. If we were to apply a conservative estimate on what your time is worth and an aggressive estimate of your profit per book and apply both of these against Ollie's efforts on Twitter, I think you'll see that investing in a Twitter automation tool makes sense. So if we take 2 hours a day and multiply it by minimum wage, which is $7.25 an hour, and then multiply this by 365 days, you'll get an investment of your time worth $5,292.50. Now, if we divide that investment by a profit per book of, let's say, $4, that would mean you'd have to sell 1,323 books just to justify your investment of 730 hours at minimum wage. Now, if you're able to earn more than minimum wage, or your book earns less of a profit, your sales hurdle is going to be higher. So now if you step back and you think, okay, the average book only sells 1,000 copies in its lifetime, it doesn't make sense to invest $5,292 of your time in order to earn only $4,000 of profit. Now that $4,000 comes from the $4 profit, if that's what you're able to capture, as multiplied by 1,000 books sales in your lifetime, in the book's lifetime. So to us, it makes more sense for you to invest in something such as TweetAdder, which only costs $54. It's a one-time payment for one account. And essentially, as we said before, this will significantly free up your time to build out more of your platform. So 2 months ago, I had purchased TweetAdder's 5-account package. Now, in my own opinion, this is a great deal for people who are looking to manage Twitter accounts for multiple purposes, such as your author profile, your book, and let's say a few characters in your book. So I worked with it for a couple of weeks. After about 2 weeks, I realized the power of TweetAdder and decided to upgrade to the unlimited package. Now, I think the unlimited package is great if you're serious about your link wheel, because each link wheel website should have its own Twitter account. And then if you're automating your Twitter account, you are now driving traffic to each website on your link wheel. And then that traffic sees the plugs for your book, sees the advertisements for your book, and then the traffic gets driven into the money site, which is your book's website. Okay, so it's been about 6 weeks since I had signed up for the unlimited package. During this time, I added roughly 12 accounts, and I've seen my network of followers increase by about 4,000 followers. And at this point, I'm adding roughly 150 followers a day. And as I continue adding more sites to my link wheel, and then more Twitter accounts and more automation through TweetAdder, I'm only going to see this daily increase. While earlier is better, most of us typically have spent all of our time writing our book, getting it ready for publication. So with that said, really it's never too late to start your social media marketing. I want to turn to an author who had written in. His name is KJ Bennett. And he's the author of Rathbone Kid. And what he said was, quote, "I had spent almost no time at all marketing Pike's Quest before publication. I had about 20 Twitter followers and little else." Now I checked his Twitter account. He's up around 600 and something, so he's been putting in his time. He says, quote, "I've spent a lot of time since then building a following. Sales haven't been great, but I have sold. For my next book, Rathbone Kid, Sex and Drugs and Quantum Stuff, I have a Twitter account for the main character, @RathboneKid, its own website, and have already started plugging the book, which won't be released until mid to late September." So how could a program like TweetAdder help KJ? Well, to start, TweetAdder would allow KJ to target another user's follower list. For example, let's say he decided he wanted to follow everyone who's following Oprah's book club. He could import Oprah's book club's list of followers, and then he could schedule his account to follow each of her users in hope of getting them to follow him back. Imagine having all of Oprah's book club followers following you. Now, when someone follows him back, he could then set his program to automatically send them a message that both thanks them for being a new follower and directing them to his book's website. He could also set the program to unfollow those people who choose not to follow him back. And then finally, he could use TweetAdder's tweet generator to create hundreds of variations of the messages he wants to put out there for his book, and then schedule them for distribution over a period of time. Now, TweetAdder offers many more features that extend beyond the purposes of this article. However, I think from this little introduction, it's pretty clear that TweetAdder will save you a boatload of time as you build out your marketing platform. So if you plan on purchasing TweetAdder, check the text of this article because there's a discount code that can save you 20%. I'm not sure how long this discount code is going to be valid for, but I used it for my purchase as well as my upgrade. Okay, so let's move on to the other building block, which is Facebook. Consider that the average Facebook user is spending close to 8 hours each month surfing the site. Facebook offers a deeper experience than most other forms of media on the internet, and Facebook users actively live on the site rather than passively surf it. If you look at a Facebook user's activity, they're engaging their friends, they're sharing media, and they're literally building communities. And despite the rich palette of tools that's available to them, most authors are lost on how to most effectively engage users on Facebook. Now, according to Kate Campbell, author of Adrift in the Sound, quote, "Each book and author is unique. It's not a case of do X, Y, and Z, and you'll sell a lot of books and achieve success. It's more nuanced than that," end quote. Now, if we take Kate's comments into account, authors will need to make an initial time investment in social media to understand each platform's features and demographics to determine if they mesh well with their target audiences. For example, let's say you've written a book on job search strategies. You might find that LinkedIn and Twitter are not your best venues. It might turn out that, say, LinkedIn is a better place to market your book because LinkedIn is a career portal. It has job seekers and people in corporate settings. Now, with that said, I think Facebook offers your fan base a more engaging journey, whether it's through the media that you post to your wall, whether it's pictures, images of your book, or videos, interviews, things like that, or comments, progress reports, new announcements. It provides not only a trail of publicity for your book, but it gives them the opportunity to engage with it, to comment on it, to share it, things like that. If we look at what Barbara Parks said, she's the author of In the Presence of Spirits, she said, quote, "I started my Facebook page before my book was contracted, so my readers have traveled every stage with me." She was able to keep her readers abreast of her progress with updates that included comments such as, quote, 10,000 words to go, or, quote, "My manuscript was passed at the Llewellyn acquisition meeting." Now, according to Barbara, she said, quote, "I believe that sharing the journey goes a long way in creating a loyal readership." Kevin Moore, the author of Waves of War, had also written in to tell us how he uses Facebook. His book is about the Battle of Lake Erie, and prior to his book's release, he took a tour of one of the historic warships that was used in the battle. And then he posted his pictures the weekend before the release. And he said, quote, "I can see an increase in the buzz surrounding it. According to my Facebook Insight metrics, about 50% more of my fans are viewing and, quote, engaging with my posts surrounding the new story over the previous one." So this is a great example of engaging your users through media that you're posting to Facebook. Now, as we discussed in our article on developing a book marketing plan, Kevin could add to his strategy by placing a thumbnail of his book in the corner of each picture and then tagging his friends, his fans from his book's fan page, or even organizations that are related to either, let's say, Lake Erie, historical fiction, naval history, and so on. Now, once you tag people, immediately all of their fans or friends can see this photo. So it's a great way to get your brand out in front of people. Another way to engage and develop your audience on Facebook is to get them involved in the process. So let's say that your cover designer has provided you with a few samples to choose from. You could post all of them on Facebook and ask your fans to vote on which cover to use. Now that they feel invested in your book's process, they will also root for its success. So, another nice aspect of social media is the ability to integrate and automate your communication. So, as we saw before, with your Twitter account, you can automate it using something like TweetAdder, and then through Twitter's settings, if you go to Profile, you can then integrate your communication so it feeds directly through to your Facebook fan page wall. So this will ensure both consistent and constant messaging while simultaneously reducing your workload. Now let's say that social media doesn't actually generate many sales for your book. Is there still a value to creating this online presence? Absolutely. These efforts, which you've now automated, will generate something we call social proof. Social proof is the appearance of being popular on social media. This means that people have followed your Twitter account, clicked like on your Facebook fan page, and liked or tagged your book on Amazon. So why does that matter? Uh, when a prospective reader arrives at your book's website or your pages on Facebook, Twitter, or Amazon, one of the first things they look at is how many people are following, liking, or reviewing your work. We are social creatures by nature. We're influenced by the opinions of others. Therefore, it's important to present an image of positive public opinion. The next time you visit another author's website or fan page, pay attention to how quickly your own eyes dart to the like count and the feeling you get when you see someone having either a high or a low fan count. You may think that you're immune to such things, but research would tell you the opposite story. These metrics have power. As we've mentioned in previous articles, word of mouth is the most powerful form of book marketing. Lavender Ironside, the author of Sekhmet Bed, agrees. What she said was, "All of my sales have come via word of mouth, because I've written a good book that readers respond to. You can't force word of mouth, nor can you buy it." Well, social proof is simply a digital complement to word of mouth. It's probably not going to be the driving force behind a consumer's purchase. However, it will be one of the myriad of data points that a consumer takes into account as they weigh their purchase options. To conclude this discussion, I want to end with a quote by Karen Smith, the author of Dark Dealings. Karen suggests, quote, "Start developing a social media profile ASAP, but don't make it all about yourself as an author. Just connect with others so when your book comes out, you can let people know without it seeming like you're only interested in selling to them, as this is the biggest turnoff for potential readers." So far in these articles, we've discussed the importance of having a book marketing plan and what it will do for you, how to map out your target audiences, a basic online strategy for reaching these audiences, which is called a link wheel, and now we've covered two key building blocks for any online strategy, Facebook and Twitter. In addition, we've discussed how to automate and link these building blocks to quickly grow your audience, as well as a few tips for engaging your audience in a way that makes them feel more invested in your success. Well, that does it for this article. As always, your comments are encouraged below. Thank you. Bye-bye.